The duties as planning board
Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to the November 10th Apex Planning Board meeting. I'd like to ask Mr. Keith Braswell to lead us in invocation.
Thank you. Please bow your head. Dear Lord, thank you for helping us gather here today. And please help us lead and guide our decisions in making the town as your wishes. These things we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chair, just wanted to note, it appears that we're obviously not going to have an issue with quorum, but I have to depart at right about 6 o'clock. So if I don't want to interrupt anyone's presentation, I don't want to interrupt any public hearings, but I need to scoot out about 6 o'clock.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Ms. Diane, are there any items of information this morning? I think we have two new board members.
Yes. Yes, so we want to welcome Christy Ewell and Renita Stanley to the planning board. We will get bios from them and have a formal introduction at the next meeting. So welcome to both of you.
Welcome.
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 All right, so we have a couple of items of information. The Peak Plan 2055 survey is now available. It's available through November 30th. It's at www.publicinput.com/peak plan survey 1. This is our comprehensive plan process that we've started, and we're looking to get feedback from the community and from you all if you haven't filled it out yet. We also wanted to announce improved transit service between downtown Apex and downtown Cary. On November 1st, Go Cary began operating Route 9, which connects downtown Cary to downtown Apex with free bus service 7 days a week. The bus runs every 30 minutes Monday through Saturday from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then every 60 minutes Monday through Saturday from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Those are 60-minute. And there's a transit news page here if you're interested in getting more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, at this point, we'll open up public comment. The purpose of the public comment is to allow the public to speak on items that do not appear on this agenda, but they're under the public hearing section. Any members of the public wishing to comment on the public hearings will be called at the appropriate time later in the agenda. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on a non-agenda item today? Is there anyone signed up today? No? Okay, seeing that there are none, we'll go ahead and close the public comment section and move on to the consent items. Our first item, item number 1, which are the minutes from the October 13th, 2025 regular meeting. I'm assuming everybody has had a chance on the board to review the meeting minutes. Are there any corrections or anything to note?
Motion to approve the minutes from Alyssa.
Okay, we have a motion by Alyssa. We have a second by Preston. All those who are in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those who oppose? Okay, motion carries. Okay, this moves us into the public hearing section. The public hearing section, please sign in if you have not done so to your left. These are for the actual agenda items that are on the list tonight. These persons that are wishing to speak on the public comments must sign up prior to the meeting. So now's your chance to do so. Individuals will be called at the appropriate time. And as the chair, we will call on the public hearing for each item. And all comments must be limited to 3 minutes. And when the 3 minutes is up, the speaker can ask for the chair to wrap up the comments. Okay, so we're going to move right into item number 1, Shannon Cox with the Long Range Planning Manager, the public hearing and possible motion regarding amendments to the Apex Transportation Plan.
Good evening, Board. So this item is associated with the next item on your agenda, the rezoning case. So in these instances, we'd recommend that you hold the public hearing for the transportation plan item, but wait to have your vote until after the rezoning public hearing. So there are proposed amendments to the transportation plan related to the Hobson Gateway Plan Unit Development rezoning. The main amendment is a proposal to shift the major collector street that would connect Tingen Road to Perry Road further south to this location shown with the green and white dash. Sorry, went too far. And I'll get a little bit into more detail about that in a minute, but there's 2 associated amendments. One is to also shift the roundabout further south on Tingen Road and to extend the future local connector street from the end of Shackleton Road down to the new major collector street alignment. So the main objective of the new alignment is to shift the Perry Road intersection further south away from these existing driveways so that we can avoid having restrictions on those driveways. With that shift, we also considered the opportunity for another driveway access south of the major collector alignment because we need to maintain proper spacing along the thoroughfare. We wanted to maintain at least 600 feet separation from Widger Lane on Tingen Road, and then also wanted to look for the best location for the stream crossing. And this is actually a preferred stream crossing location compared to our planned alignment. Planning staff recommend approval of these amendments. These were also reviewed by Transportation, Infrastructure, and Development staff, Parks and Rec, Fire and police and all are supportive of the amendments. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thanks.
Are there any questions for Shannon? Nope. Okay. So, being that this is a public hearing, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing for this item. Sir, if you could please state your name and your address.
Okay. Good afternoon, Lawrence Kevin, 1628 Salem Village Drive. And I was reviewing this. The one thing I read, that the stream crossing is dependent on the Army Corps engineers. So obviously that can factor into whether or not it's going to happen or not. Stream crossings are generally very expensive, so it'd be nice to have some kind of cost associated. I think Hobson was responsible for 50%. I don't know where the other 50% is coming from. Seymour Tingen is on hold, or it's not happening. The other thing I want to point out on the way it's drawn, the roundabout for the master plan submitted August 1st for the Seymour, Tingen had a multi-use, and that was kind of where you exited out for that. So that's kind of where the roundabout was. So it also, the road does not line up with the plan submitted August 1st for, I know it's suspended, but it does not match up with the master plan submitted. That was, quite a bit of work involved for the Tingen. Jeff Roach can probably speak to that better than I can. That's just a couple things that I want to point out that just don't seem to make sense to me, and there's some costs involved that the town needs to consider.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence. Okay, is there anybody else to speak on this item? Okay, seeing that there are none, we'll go ahead and close the public comment section of this item, and we will move on to item number 2, okay, which is June Cowles, and which is the motion regarding rezoning 24CZ20, the Hobson Gateway PUD.
Good afternoon. This is Hobson Gateway Plan Unit Development and Town of Apex Light Industrial Conditional Zoning, 24CZ20. The project site is located south of Apex Peakway and north of Highway 1. So, looking at a closer look, the project site is just below right where Perry Road stops into this property, and then Lexington Farm is south of Lexington Farm. Again, as the Seymour PUD is over here, and then of course Highway 1. So in the applicant's Acre Manager LLC and the Town of Apex, they've entered into a land exchange agreement, and that was approved by the Town of Apex Council on October 8th, 2024. So they've exchanged some property. Perry Road on the transportation plan is supposed to be realigned, and so that's where they drew the line as far as swapping. Now this is Acre property from that, and then Town of Apex properties. So it's more developable sites for each applicant, and that gave the Acre Manager 58.54 acres, and then the town will have 39.62 acres. So the current zoning is residential, agriculture, and light industrial conditional zoning. So just to give you some, looking at the zoning around the surrounding project, this is manufactured housing, conditional use, Lexington Farms. Seymour PUD is a plan unit development, and then Iron Gate and Grace Christian School that's being constructed right now is rural residential. And then off to here is the Broadstone Apartments, and that's also a plan unit development. Tech Flex, some existing industrial buildings right here in the light industrial. So the proposed zoning is plan unit development conditional zoning, and again, that's gonna line up to where Perry Road's gonna be realigned, and then light industrial conditional zoning. Looking at the 2045 land use map, it's office employment, and then office employment and industrial employment. So if approved, then on the west side of the realigned Perry Road would be medium-high density residential and medium-high density residential with commercial service along Perry Road, and then industrial employment and office employment, which would stay the same of the for the Town of Apex site. Existing conditions on the acres, some fields and mature trees along here. There is a creek along the western property line, and then on the Town of Apex side, again, some fields and mature trees with pond, and then there's a small Town of Apex little facility down here. Okay, starting with the Town of Apex proposed light industrial conditional zoning, the proposed uses are listed here. The S behind each use is for special use permit, so they'll have to get a special use permit. And we have some required buffers and screening. So a 60-foot type A buffer shall be provided along US Highway 1, except for the electric substation. There will be no buffer required along that area. If other permitted uses are visible through the electric substation or associated lines, those must be screened from US Highway 1, so a 10-foot type A standard. And then these conditions, all other standards of the UDO may be varied based on the financial operational needs of the Town of Apex, but any changes to the site shall be required to be shown on the site plan for a technical review committee review and comment, and made available to the public on the interactive development map. And these variations included the existing Perry Road, road improvements to the new aligned Perry Road, the tree survey and trees. Outdoor storage is allowed as a standalone use. RCA relocation to accommodate future development with adjoining properties. The existing lighting can remain. That's that little small facility that's out there right now. But when it's going to be redeveloped, then the lighting would change. And yard waste pile height limit to 30 feet with a slope no greater than 2 to 1. And now looking at the Hobson Gateway PUD proposed site plan. This is 58.54 acres in size. A letter of impact from Wake County Public School System indicates that all grade levels within the current assignment area for this rezoning are anticipated to have sufficient capacity for future students. And the PUD plan includes 2 districts, A and B. This northern section would have a maximum total units of 220, and then District B would have a maximum residential units for 400. The major collectors in between District A and B, and then there's an existing stub street with Shackleton Road, which will be connected and then through the development to the major collector. Perry Road will be, of course, realigned, and these arrows indicate potential access points. A public greenway is located along the stream, and then along the southern buffer of Highway 1 to Perry Road. Permitted uses for District A, single-family townhouse, live-work townhouse, and small-scale multifamily with accessory apartment, and then these recreational uses. So for the live-work townhomes, live-work townhomes, they would be just along Perry Road, and the only permitted non-residential use in the live-work townhome would be office, business, or professional. District B would be the townhouse, small-scale multifamily, accessory apartment, and and the recreational uses. So the Hobson Gateway site is located within the transit development area, which supports apartments use within the medium-high density residential classification. And there is another condition that says townhouse and or small scale multifamily units may be developed and constructed in District B before any apartment units are developed, provided sufficient land in District B is reserved to accommodate the future construction of at least 300 apartment units. Moving on to the transportation improvements, that's Apex Peakway, Perry Road intersection. It includes restriping, additional lanes, installation of traffic signal based on NCDOT approval, which involves timing, warrant study, and fee in lieu if the signal is not installed. For the Apex Peakway and Tingen Road intersection, the developer shall pay a fee in lieu equal to 10% of estimated cost to design and install a traffic signal and additional lanes. And then for the construction of the east-west major collector, this includes bike lanes and a 10-foot side path, and then 5-foot sidewalk on the other side. And Perry Road, they'll design, construct, and realign Perry Road as a 4-lane medium divided thoroughfare, and that would include a 10-foot side path on this side, on the Hobson Gateway side, and then a 5-foot sidewalk on the Town of Apex side. And the southern terminus of Perry Road shall accommodate the anticipated future bridge elevation over US 1 and additional lanes at the intersections. So I did pass out an additional 2 conditions, and that states those are for the easement, a transit easement along the major collector, and then construction easement for the future bridge that comes in over Highway 1. And staff and the applicant have been working on the 2 additional conditions, and we're agreed upon that. Next is the proposed utility plan, just showing the sewer and water connections. The RCA requirement is 20% for this area. And then looking at the buffers, 20-foot type B along Lexington Farm subdivision, and then once we get up to this light industrial existing site, it'll be a 40-foot type A buffer. Along the west side of Perry Road is a 30-foot type B. And then on both sides of the major collector, a 10-foot type B. Along US 1, there'll be a 80-foot type A buffer, and this includes a greenway. The Apex Environmental Advisory Board held a meeting for this rezoning on January 16, 2025, and the PUD includes 6 environmental conditions, which are native plantings, warm season grasses, the green building certifications for the apartment, pet waste station, and 220-volt outlet in the garage for the townhomes. The applicant's also providing affordable housing condition, a minimum 20% of total apartment units in District B. Households earning no more than 80% AMI and for a period of 30 years. And then again, there's that condition about townhomes, small-scale multifamily can be developed in District B as long as there's sufficient area reserved to accommodate the 300 apartment units. And then for the design standards and architectural conditions, setbacks are included for single-family townhomes, front-loaded, rear-loaded, and the parking lot style, apartments and recreational facility, single-family minimum square footage for the lots are 5,000, and maximum building height 3 stories or 45 feet, and apartments 4 stories at 60 feet. So here's some concepts of the townhouse elevations. and then the small scale multifamily elevations, apartments, and then the single family elevations. The architectural conditions, they address material, trim, garage door design and setbacks, roof line, and then color palette to make sure we have a couple more, 3 or more palettes for each townhouse and single family. The parking for apartments, 1 or 2 bedroom units, it's 1.3 spaces per unit, and 3 bedroom units is 1.8 spaces per unit. And then all other development will comply with the UDO. And on February 26, 2025, the Park and Recreational Cultural Resource Advisory Commission recommended a fee in lieu of dedication with credit for construction of the Greenway. So the Greenway in District A shall be completed prior to 25% of the total residential units in District A. And then for District B, it would be, the Greenway shall be completed prior to 25% of the total residential in, 50% of the total residential units in District B. The analysis statement of reasonableness of the proposed rezoning. So the Town of Apex site rezoning to light industrial conditional zoning, that is consistent with the 2045 land use map. The proposed Hobson Gateway planned unit development conditional zoning district includes residential densities between 9.7 units to 11.5 units per acre. And that area, as I described along Perry Road, that would be for potential for live-work townhomes for office and professional uses within the townhomes. The Hobson Gateway site is located within the transit development area, which does support apartment use within the medium-high density residential classification. If the Hobson Gateway properties are rezoned as proposed, the 2045 land use map will automatically be amended to medium-high density residential and medium-high density residential / commercial services. And that's per the North Carolina General Statute. The proposed rezoning to plan unit development conditional zoning will provide the flexibility to accommodate the growth in population and infrastructure consistent with that contemplated with the 2045 land use map. And the proposed rezoning is reasonable and in the public interest because the Town of Apex site will include a public works facility, improving the efficiency of town operations. The proposed PUD rezoning provides a minimum of 20% of total apartment units as income restricted affordable apartment units. And in addition, the PUD provides for the realignment and construction of the full Perry Road extension as shown on the Thoroughfare and Collector Street plan. And it will help facilitate a permanent sewer solution for the property. So the proposed rezoning for PUD CZ and LICZ is compatible with the surrounding uses. And with that, planning staff recommends approval of the rezoning Hobson Gateway PUD and Town of Apex Light Industrial Conditional Zoning as proposed by the applicant in those 2 additional conditions. And if you had any questions for the applicant is here, and I believe I'm going to ask if you might have a PowerPoint presentation. In addition, we did receive 2 emails on October 27th and October 28th in opposition.
Thank you, June.
You're welcome.
Does anybody have any questions for June?
June, I want to know, so Shackleton, right?
Shackleton Road.
Yes, it will connect to that because that's a UDO policy to connect a road there. With the east-west connector, they can just stub it at the property line, or are they going to extend it to Tenjin Road with this? Just want to clarify that. Because we saw the map with the realignment that shows the full connection from Perry to Tenjin, but this development is just going to consider their portion of that realignment.
Right, I think as far as the east-west, they would, that's correct.
June, for that 20-foot buffer between the neighborhoods that already exist, is that what you said? It was a 20-foot that's going to be along the northern part?
Yes, that's a
Neighborhoods.
20-foot type B buffer.
And what exactly is that, the type B?
The type B, semi-opaque, so not completely screened. There are just, you could just see some areas.
Okay. And you said that environmental board looked at this in January, is that correct? Because I know the 2 emails that we did receive from citizens addressed environmental policy, was looking at wildlife, etc. So that was all taken into consideration as well?
On January 16th, they went to the EAB board, and as far as, they just included the native plantings, the 20% RCA, which would be, include the buffers, and then any of the stream buffers along here. And any additional, which if they need, 20% more, it'd probably be along the creek.
Okay.
Or stream.
I had a question. It says here that the LOS is, are you concerned at all about the F, so the northbound and southbound road being F grade? Is the left turn lane supposed to alleviate that? I wasn't clear.
I'm gonna let Russell or Jessica McClure answer the transportation questions. I'll get you to the. Oh, there we go.
Just go all the way back.
All the way back.
Which intersection?
So I am on page, forgive me, northbound Perry Road, southbound Perry Road, the F, the build and no build. I'm seeing Fs on those 2 areas where everything else was A and B.
Which intersection on Perry Road?
It
Or
says
across street?
Northbound and southbound
sorry.
Perry at the Peakway.
Yeah, expect to
Peakway.
operate at LOSF with significant delays in queuing and eastbound left turn lane. That's what I was asking, is that supposed to alleviate the eastbound left turn lane on Apex Peakway is warranted on existing traffic volumes?
Yes, so for Peakway at Perry Road, that's the intersection, correct? Yes, okay. There's some existing pavement out there, and so what we've recommended is kind of working with the existing pavement out there to provide some turn lanes as well as the signalization, which should help move the traffic out there because it does get congested.
But it will still be at F though? Do you think after you do those improvements, or do you? Maybe that's one I'm just new, so I'll just.
Hold on here, let me get my table out.
Sorry, I'm on page 13.
13 of the letter. Thirteen of what?
Traffic impact analysis.
Oh, I don't have the staff report. Of the TIA.
I think that's what I'm looking at.
Do you have
TIA or the staff report?
Hobson, yes, staff report attachment, yes.
Oh, the attachment, which is the TIA. Correct, yeah.
TIA recommendations, and then the Apex staff recommendations are underneath the table. I just wanted to know, with the recommendations, does it stay in F?
Oh, under 28 build?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what it would be without any of the improvements. And then these improvements required would alleviate it to what's seen under the 28 build improved scenario.
C and D.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Did you have any more, Christy?
No, sorry.
Oh, no, that's all right. June, I've got a couple of questions. I've got, most of my questions are also transportation or traffic related, but I'd kind of like to hear from the applicant first, or the applicant's representative on their presentations. Some of them may be addressed there. Regarding the Town of Apex piece, the LICZ, there were 2 areas that created red flags for me. One was it appears that this will be continue to be a yard waste and potential other outdoor storage waste area for the town, and obviously we need that. We need a place to be able to store that product or those materials after they clean our streets, which is always nice. The concern I've got is that while we've conditioned the height and the slope on that, we've not created a buffer from the realigned Perry Road. Yard waste station, and especially if there's going to be a large scale building going in there, it's just not a pleasing sight. And if we've got 600 new residents going in right there across the street, there's concern that Apex and its operation there might just be unsightly. Realizing that the town needs that facility, I would hope that we could create and that the town would go above and beyond, what any developer or what we might expect of a private developer, and do a minimum 100-foot buffer or something off of Perry Road, because we have the acreage, and place all of that yard waste behind there. The other concern I have is the statement in the conditions that says all other standards can be varied. And I think that unless I'm misunderstanding it, and I hope I can be corrected, unless I'm misreading that, it appears as though we're kind of opening the book for the town, and that the town would have the ability to, obviously within that list of permitted uses, that's understood, but outside of that the UDO is kind of just set aside. And I don't think that's a good look, and one that the town should hold itself to the same standard that it sets for the development community, and even higher. So those are my two concerns with the Apex piece.
As far as, I think the facility we haven't reviewed it yet. It's in early stages as far as design. It's still, nothing's set yet, right, or anything like that. But I think, Amanda,
the plan is to build a water resources office building down there. We're outgrowing our office space. And so the plan is to have other uses on that site that will not just be yard waste. That will be a small portion of the property. And as June said, we haven't got into full design of that site yet. So
sure, and I understand that, and as Alyssa has reminded me several times, and rightfully so, stay away from site planning, Preston. This is a legislative matter. We are here to talk about conditions only, and that is true. But I do think that we need to, that it's incumbent upon the town to place the same, if not more stringent, burden upon itself as it would upon a private developer. And so while we are still short of site design, I think that we're still in an opportunity to place conditions, and that those conditions should be adequate to shield this facility from the citizens. And then the other is regarding the all other standards being varied. I having worked in local government planning and development for 25 years, now I'm in the private sector. I can tell you that the citizens are very sensitive when a government says, we don't really need to follow the UDO. You do, but we can set it aside. And I'm not suggesting that that's what's happening here, but that sentence concerns me. That's all.
So, Preston, there is a standard in the UDO already that allows the town to have some flexibility in design standards when necessary, when it's a Town of Apex project. So it's already been codified. It's been in the UDO for a few years now.
Does it not specify what portions of the UDO are available?
It doesn't. It doesn't address uses. The uses, of course, are set as in the zoning, but it doesn't have like limits on that. It's not been used frequently, but has whenever flexibility is needed, given town really doesn't have a lot of land, that doesn't own a lot of land, and needs to maximize its the property it does have to the in the most efficient way possible while still being respectful to our adjacent property owners.
Sure.
But meeting the needs of the town and providing services to its residents, given the land that it has to use.
Sure. Understood. And I'm not going to make a thing of it. I'm on record, and I think it's important that, and I appreciate you clarifying that it is codified already. I think it's a slippery slope. Something that the council may want to look at sometime in the future before a project happens where the citizens say, we didn't have any input in that. So anyway, I'll wait on the other traffic or transportation comments after the applicant.
Okay.
Very good. Are there any other questions for June? Okay, I'd like to invite the applicant to come speak.
Good evening, Chair Royal and members of the board. I'm Matthew Carpenter with Parker Poe, 301 Fayetteville Street in Raleigh. Here this afternoon on behalf of the developer, Acre Management. Got several folks with me tonight. Daniela Marin with Acre, Jeff Roach with Peak Engineering, our civil engineer, and then Lyle Overcash with Kimley Horn, our transportation engineer. And we appreciate your time tonight. As June mentioned, this project is a long-term collaboration between Acre and the town. It's been going on for just over 2 years, I believe, when we started this process. The land exchange was approved October of 2024, and then we filed our rezoning application in November of 2024. And so we've been in staff review really for about a year, which is a little longer than you see in a lot of cases in Apex. But I think that review time is evident in the case as it's developed. There are a lot of public benefits, and I think it's worth it that we spent that time making it the best case that it can be. And so, and just to clarify, do we have 3 minutes or is it 9? Just 3?
No, you can do
9. Okay, appreciate it. I saw the clock, which is why. And so June did a good job at explaining the uses surrounding the property. You can see the acre property here, the 47-acre site that's sort of long and separated by Perry Road, and then the town site to the south. The only thing I think June didn't mention is between the time we filed this case and now, the Children's Hospital south of US 1 was announced, which was obviously a big win for Apex, but will increase demand for housing, I think, in this area, especially for employees of the hospital and surrounding uses. Again, the land use map here is office employment and office employment / industrial employment. You can see that there's some industrial striping on both sides of Perry Road. And with any project in Apex, we looked at this map at the very beginning of the process to say what uses are appropriate here. And we saw a lot of office, which obviously was difficult because of the office market. There's still a lot of vacancy. It's not the same as it was pre-COVID. And then the adjacency of office industrial uses to established neighborhoods west of Perry Road. And so what I'll explain in a moment is we tried to reconcile the land use map with our plan and the town's rezoning to really determine what made sense here from a planning perspective to transition into residential, with those existing neighborhoods west of Perry Road. And this graphic just shows again the land exchange specifics. So on the left, you can see the layout of the properties now. The blue is the acre tract and the green is the town tract. And you can see it was really awkward the way those were split by Perry Road. And so it didn't make sense to us to have one project that Acre was doing split by Perry Road and another the town was doing. And so the land exchange is reconfiguring both pieces as shown on the right side of the screen. Obviously, Acre's getting more land than the town is receiving. If you read the land exchange agreement, they're paying roughly $180,000 an acre for that additional land. So it's a little over $2 million to make sure that it's an even exchange of value between the town and Acre. And so we wanted to get the land exchange in place in October, and then we filed the rezoning application along these lines. And so the blue portion is the PUD that we've been talking about, and then the green is light industrial. And I know June went through that, but if you read the application, there's all these different legal descriptions, and it's a little bit confusing. So I think this clarifies it a little bit. And then the overall concept plan, again, the white area is the town's property, the LICZ rezoning, and then the Hobson PUD is on the left side of the screen in yellow and orange. And we have two districts, District A in yellow, which will be townhomes, and it permits up to 220 townhomes. That's a maximum density. We haven't laid out the site. Once we lay out play lawns, RCA, et cetera, it may be under 220 with the subdivision plan. And then separated by the major collector street is District B, which will be a max of 400 townhome and multifamily units. And so, again, as I mentioned with the land use map, the goal really was to keep the industrial office uses east of Perry Road and then transition residential on the west side of Perry Road. These tracts are obviously higher in density than some of the subdivisions to the west, and so the idea was to phase, transition down in intensity and density to the west as you move into those single-family neighborhoods. Again, to answer the question on the major collector, I know the transportation plan amendment showed the street all the way to Tingen. That was because we moved it on our site. We also had to move it in the Seymour site. But our project will be constructing it to our property line. The Perry Road extension, typically, and I'll get to this again in a moment, but typically the developer would build half or pay for half, and then the property owner on the other side would pay for half. Here, the developer is committed to building the entire thing. And so Acre will be putting the road in with stubs, utility stubs, et cetera, so the town can come in and develop its public works facility or whatever the final site plan winds up being with the infrastructure already in. The other piece of this is the affordable housing commitment. When we filed this case in November of last year, the town's policy recommended 5% of units at 80% AMI. In June, it was updated to recommend 10%. And so what we're proposing is 20% of the apartment units will be affordable units at 80% AMI for 30 years. And so if you take the number of units, 80 out of 400, over the whole density of the whole site, it's about 13%. So it's still above that recommendation from the policy. And we did do it for 30 years, which I think some of the recommendations of the policy are 20. So we extended that to, again, to try to target sort of a workforce housing range at 80% AMI. The transportation infrastructure improvements are shown on this slide, and the total estimated cost are $6 million. Perry Road in red, as I mentioned, will be realigned and constructed by the developer. The southernmost section of Perry Road will be set up elevation-wise for the future bridge crossing over US 1. The major collector will be constructed in orange, which, if the transportation plan amendment is approved, it'll be consistent with the transportation plan amendment. We went through several meetings and conversations with staff about the appropriate location there, and it moved within the last couple months. I think to your question, the signalization is shown in blue of the Apex Peakway Perry Road intersection. So Acre will be installing a traffic signal there and then putting a new turn lane at every single side of the intersection. So some sides of the intersection, there's enough pavement to restripe the lane. Maybe one, if I remember correctly, has to be constructed with additional pavement. And then in purple rather, the Tingen Road and Apex Peakway intersection, if you remember from, I guess it's been over a year now, the Seymour PUD zoning condition requires that developer to signalize that intersection. And even though the builder who had the whole site under contract to come in with plans, they fell through, the zoning conditions for the Seymour PUD are still in place. So if another developer picks up that site, they'll have to signalize the intersection that's shown in purple. And so based on our traffic impact, which was right around 10% of that intersection, Acres paying a fee in lieu for signalization there of 10% of the cost. So I believe it's estimated, the most recent estimate I saw was $1.5 million for the full signalization. So that would be a significant fee in lieu there. The other piece of this is the sewer extension. So there are, and Jeff Roach can speak more about this if there are questions, but there are sewer capacity concerns here with existing pump stations. And so what this project is doing is extending sewer from south of US 1 to take existing pump stations offline, which is important because the town prefers gravity sewer over pump stations. And it's an expensive project, around $4 million. There was a partnership between the Seymour developer, Grace Christian, and Acre, an agreement rather, to extend the sewer for cost sharing. When the builder of Seymour fell through, now it's just Grace and Acre. So Acre is handling the majority of that financial obligation to extend sewer. So that'll be a big deal because it'll be available north of US 1 to take those pump stations offline, and also available to residents of the subdivision here west of us that's on well and septic. So, in the future, if they needed to connect, they could do that too. And so to summarize, again, we've got a case with significant public benefits. It's been a long collaboration with the town. It'll facilitate the land exchange and eventually the town's redevelopment of its site. The affordable housing commitment, which will be up to 80 affordable housing units. The transportation improvements I just went through, the sewer extensions, and then I didn't mention this, but the pedestrian connectivity that I think June summarized well. It's 1.2 miles of greenways and side paths. And then finally, just meeting housing demand for the growth that's going to be fueled by the Children's Hospital. And so for those reasons, we respectfully request your recommendation for approval. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant?
Matthew, other than the signal at Apex Peakway, are there any other offsite road improvements for the northern section of Perry Road?
Between this
like in front
boundary,
of the land and...
No, there aren't. Again, because those there are existing industrial businesses along those roads, and so we don't control that land. So there aren't. But they would have to, if those sites are redeveloped, they would have to build their portion of the frontage to the Perry Road section shown on the transportation plan.
Right, because remind me what kind of cross section it is. It's a...
I believe it's 72 feet wide for the pavement. The right-of-way is a little bigger. I don't know, Jeff, if you have that exact section. Yep.
Four divided. Okay.
And we did, I think we added a little additional right-of-way in case this becomes sort of the main road from Viridia to the south, and the road needs to be expanded again in the future.
So I've got several questions, if that's okay. Let me see where to start. So I guess one of the first places I'd like to start is with the Kimley Horn study. And I'm looking here, I'm on page 3 of the Kimley Horn study. And it indicates, this page here is a summary. There's table 1 and table 2, summary of the non-res and the res trip gen. And it indicates in those tables for the residential that there are 200 dwelling units for the multifamily. With a daily trip gen of 1862, and then a couple of pages down, and then also noted multiple times throughout this presentation, it indicates 400. So I'm concerned a little bit because if the summary sheet indicates 200, is the correct calculation? Should that 200 be 400? Or are we actually looking at not 3,642, but potentially 5,500?
Laura Catchwick, Kimmelhorn. Yeah, Jessica and I had that discussion. I don't know what happened to us, but yeah, all the analysis is based on the trip gen and the appendix, and somehow in the Word doc, we had some typos in that table, and Jessica noted in her review. But all the calculations are correct based on the 400 and everything else.
So 3,642 is based on 400 multifamily. Is that what you're saying?
If you go to the appendix, the trip gen tables in the appendix are the ones that all the calculations are based on. It was a transpose of numbers up front with some of the tables. So I apologize for that.
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
But aside from answering it, that's what the tables say, that this table should say 400 units.
400 units.
For 3,642.
400 units, 3,642.
Okay.
Yeah,
Understood.
bottom line's correct.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yep.
So I think the concern there, and having read the, I believe it was the email that was sent regarding Lexington, is if we are, I'm going to go back to that page 151. And I'm on PDF 151 of 435, and I'm looking at the map here, or the concept plan. So if we've got roughly 3,600 vehicles being split between Perry Road and Shackleton Road, my concern is that amount of traffic coming from high density through a low density neighborhood, because we've not yet constructed the bridge over US 1 and we've not yet constructed the east-west collector. It's unfortunate that the Seymour plan or PUD or developer has that's not worked out. Even if it was going to work out, we don't know whether or not timing would work, anytime soon. But since we do know that's indefinitely on hold, that the east-west connector or collector is not going to happen anytime soon. And I looked at the CTP, and if it's not on the CTP, I doubt it would be on the NCDOT TIP, but I don't know when the bridge is planned, and I don't know whether or not the bridge is planned to be sped up with the construction of the Children's Hospital. But you've got 3,600 vehicles in this little enclave here. And I know we've been talking about improvements to the intersection of Perry and Peakway and intersection improvements to Peakway and Tingen. But by the time that you've already gotten to those intersections, you're already out of the development. So those are great improvements and much needed improvements, but you're already out of the development at that time. And so that split traffic that's going to be traveling down Shackleton Road through Lexington subdivision, by the time they get to those roadway improvements, they will have already driven through Lexington. And so I don't disagree with council that this is a much needed development. We need the housing. We appreciate the 20% affordability. I think it's a fine design. I think it's a great deal with the town of Apex that has been cut here in terms of the land swap. My concern is that we're a little early, or we need to find multiple ways to get 3,600 cars out of here.
Yes, if I could address that real quick. Yeah, we assigned about 10% of the traffic to go up Shackleton. And like you described, it's kind of an interim condition until the east-west collector is built.
Yeah.
And then I guess the good thing, if you look at Apex Peakway, once we make improvements at Perry Road, we signalize Perry Road. Eventually, Tingen Road will be signalized as well. And then you have Shackleton that's about equidistant between those two intersections. And so I believe, the folks coming out of Shackleton will see more breaks in the traffic based from those signals. And so that would help them out in the future. But I think the improvements we're going to make at Perry is going to make that the most attractive way to go. If you go up Shackleton and your single lane approach coming up to Peakway and you're having to delay, you're going to go over to Perry and take the signal. That's going to be the most direct and access road. Most folks are, here in the interim are all trying to get to 55 in the future, they're kind of going to go up in Perry and split. But once the east-west collector is extended, I have to believe somebody's going to pick up the Seymour project and finish that off at some point.
The zoning is still in place.
Right.
True. I don't disagree that the zoning is still in place. I do think that part of our conversation should be regarding the fact that, yes, part of what the zoning is the current entitlements on the property right now are agricultural and light industrial. So that's a very different level of intensity than high density multifamily. The other is our future land use designation in this area is a future land use designation of office and employment. And you can look at that Kimley Horn at those tables, and you can see that the trip gen for office and light industrial is much different. It's significantly lower. In fact, it's roughly half of what, because I don't have that page back up, but it's roughly 1,500 versus the 3,600. So, conceptually, I'm in favor of this, but I do think that I have a series of significant questions that need to be answered, and I don't know if I've even offered this previously on my time on the board, but whether or not we ever move to defer, move to send a committee.
Could I respond just a moment to the transportation questions, because some of the improvements that we're doing to the intersections, those are solving existing traffic concerns that are out there now. And so I think, if you're looking at the no-build scenario, which we just discussed earlier, that's an F right now at Peakway and Perry, for example, and you punt this project, then those improvements are added to the town's list to find funding for. And so I think that's part of the concern is I think you're right that it doesn't, this project doesn't solve all of the traffic issues, but it is an iterative step in solving traffic issues in this area. Absolutely. Rather than saying, well, let's delay it and then the town can spend the money on fixing all those improvements, then this project can come. I think that's sort of the alternative.
Right. And so we don't have to get into a whole lot of back and forth here. You've answered the questions. I understand that, Mr. Chair, you need to open up the public hearing, and I don't want to delay us any longer. I also am so upset that I've got to leave at 6 o'clock because I know we're in the middle of this conversation. But I do appreciate the dialogue that we've had so far.
Well, the dialogue is welcome and is needed.
Yeah.
I'd like to add, the towns have been looking at the intersection of Perry as a safety problem currently, as Russell and Jessica can speak to that. So yeah, that's been an identified need, and so it's a safety issue. And right now, Tingen is at the Peakway. The Peakway is under stop control. Obviously, that's not going to work when you open up the Peakway Bridge. So you've got two locations that need to be addressed, and like Matthew said, this project definitely helps.
Yeah, no, understood.
Solutions,
yeah, you even have site visibility looking southbound if you're traveling on the Peakway and you're wanting to turn right on Tingen. Yeah, so no, I understand.
What, in general, what timing of signalization of Perry Road, does that happen at the time of build out, or is that prior to, or is that post construction completion?
Yeah, we have some stipulations in there as far as signal warrant analysis. I think it's going to be met pretty quick. I think we want to put the signal in earlier than later. Like Mr. Mitchell describes, between the town site and our site, it's about 5,000 trips a day. That's coming up to Perry, and so we're going to need help if it's already struggling. Yeah.
Are there any conditions of why that couldn't be done?
Yeah, I just pulled up the language just to clarify. So it's if at the time of construction drawing approval for the Perry signal, let's see. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. I read. A warrant study shall be performed prior to platting 50 single-family or townhome lots. So the warrant study has to be done at the front of the project. So as long as NCDOT permits it, it'll be done early on. And you don't have any concerns about it being warranted?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for the applicant? Okay, seeing that there are none, we'll open this up to the public comment. If there are those who are here to speak on public comment, you can do so now. We have a list. Okay.
Lawrence Kevin, 1628 Salem Village Drive. First question is, why is this combined Apex, submission, town Apex, and the developer? Seems like we split up, based off your questions you raised about some of the UDO, it seems like it'd be split up. I don't know why it's together. Another thing that, again, I think, again, the Seymour withdrawal is complex because going back to my memory, that it was going to be $6 million in road improvements, including along the Peakway and Tingen. So that's not going away. Someone's got to pick up the tab. I don't know where I know 10% traffic, but the 10% fee for the signalization of Tingen and Peakway, which is a real mess. I drive it every day. It came this way. It's like I go up to Widger Lane to avoid accidents. Another thing I was going to say, emergency access. I didn't see anything that kind of specified emergency access to this area. So would like to see something like that, their opinion kind of weigh in how how they're going to service this area. I want to bring up the point of you can see on the map here of the Iron Gate community. I think it's mischaracterized and mislabeled in the land use map. It's essentially this one house per acre, and right adjacent to it, you're going to have medium high density buildings. And so it's very inconsiderate. In fact, when the Seymour plan was initially presented, they had an apartment complex adjacent to them too. So I think it's an underserved community. I'm going to say it's gentrification. I think it's displacement. And so you're displacing that community for this other one. I think it's light industrials can matter, but it's like, and then also I want to just point out, like in some of the notes I saw on the feedback from the school district, the last page, it said 200, it missed the numbers. It said they had 200 family units. They didn't include the 400 multifamily units. So how can you calculate the capacity for the schools when that was an obvious misstatement? So I don't know how that just factors in something I noticed. And that's really about it. I think it needs to be. I'd like to see a deferment and really look at it a little bit more. I know that during the Seymour, I actually broached the subject of a land swap, with moving maybe this area for like the towns to the Seymour area to get a little more less density. I was basically told that's not going to happen ever. 2 years later, look at that. There's a land swap. So what do you know? Same administration. So again, and also I want to point out that it's a very heavily density forested area on Point B. It's basically it's all forested. I also think the developer needs to think about sound wall mitigation because those trees kind of will dampen the sound. I live again in Salem Village. If you look around Apex, there's no freeway sound walls anywhere. You get to Cary, there's sound walls. 540 sound walls, but not in Apex. I think they should, you're talking about a bicycle greenway right next to it. Why not consider putting in a sound wall for sound mitigation at this point in time? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else here for the public comment? Okay, seeing there's none, we're going to go ahead and close the public comment, bring this back to the board. I'll kind of start off here. I do see that there is a lot of good in this project. I also see that there are some concerns that need to be addressed. I think there probably should be looked at a little bit harder on, especially on the traffic. I would ask, staff, does Wake County base their plan off of 200 units, or is it actually off the 600?
I looked back at the information that was sent to them when the letter was requested, and the number did say 220. I don't recall what was in the initial application that was submitted, but I suspect that that was only for the townhomes, and the multifamily number was left off in the process of emailing Wake County. They are aware of the updated numbers because we met with them recently, but their letter was based on that 220 number. So I will work with them to get an updated
Thank you.
information.
As far as land swap, I can see where there's not much benefit to either side if there isn't some sort of deal made between two. I mean, just looking at how the roads are going to lay out, you just can't really. You're going to have separate projects on other sides of the road, and it doesn't really benefit anyone. So I do say that there is a mutual a benefit to both the developer and the town. Is there anything wrong with that? I don't think that there is. As long as the town is getting a good deal out of this and it's going to serve the people, I don't think there's anything morally, ethically wrong with that. We just got to make sure that the project is not going to, at the same time, wind up putting out conditions that normally wouldn't be adhered to for any other PUD, right? We got to make sure that it's fair for everyone, that it's equal, distribution upon both parties here. So things that I do like the 20% at the 80% AMI for 30 years. I think that's a plus. We don't see that too often in many of the projects. I do think that's a good thing. I did have one question, and this might actually come back to staff, and this is more of a, I don't know that this can be answered here in this meeting, but with the realignment of the east-west connector for the Seymour PUD, what is that going to do to their project potential? A different entry point into the Seymour PUD, that could have future impacts on that one being developed out to the best of its ability as well. So I have a little bit of concern with that as well. Anyone else?
Oh, I was going to respond to your statement. Essentially, the way these things work is the first development in drives some of the connectivity issues. Seymour PUD's location of the east-west collector was never optimal from a staff perspective. There were a lot of compromises made. The PUD itself will not need to be amended in any way. Their subdivision plan is not moving forward. So when they do come in, they will need to deal with the existing conditions, just like this project needed to connect to Lexington. Seymour PUD will need to complete that east-west collector street. This is a much preferred location from a stormwater perspective, a preferred location just for a kind of site development perspective for this development, which is now the first one in the door because it is moving forward. So it is kind of a chicken or egg thing. It happens all the time. And yeah, there's sometimes winners and losers. But Seymour was not able to move forward. So that one they'll have to figure out what they want to do in that quadrant when they do come back eventually.
Thank you.
And I can speak to that too, Chair, because I handled the Seymour case a couple years ago. So if you see an orange there, that's the realigned major collector will go through the Seymour multifamily district, and so they can still develop that district. The buildings would just have to be located on each side of the collector street.
Okay.
So, and we did talk about that internally when we made the move.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I've got a follow-up question to Diane's comment, and I appreciate your what you provided there, Diane. There was a statement in the backup material, and forgive me, I don't recall if it was from a consultant or if it was part of the staff written documentation, but it indicated if the Army Corps of Engineers approves the crossing over the creek, then XYZ. The concern I guess I've got there is, do we have some kind of notice of intent or notice of commitment, something from the Corps that says this is feasible? Because if we go pretty far down that path and we learn that it's not in fact feasible, then we're in a real pickle. And so I'm curious if there is if a feasibility statement or something from the Corps has been provided to that effect.
I can answer that, and then Jeff can help me too if we need it. But I'm assuming you're talking to the major collector crossing,
Correct.
Stream crossing. Yep. So the issue is not will the Corps permit crossing at all, but sometimes if you're crossing and there's no development on the other side, the Corps doesn't want you to disturb the stream.
Right.
To get, and so we would, if the Corps wouldn't permit the crossing, which they probably wouldn't unless Seymour, then we would stop short of the stream, and then we would pay a fee in lieu for the remainder of the crossing, and then Seymour, when it comes in, would connect where our stub is. So that way the stream is undisturbed until Seymour develops. That way you're not disturbing the stream when there's no connectivity to the west yet.
Right, understood.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
All right.
Thank you. And again, that's very helpful. We've just got it's just a number of ifs, if then. I will restate that I'm not opposed to this project. I think this project brings to the community what it needs and will need with the development of the hospital and continued growth in this area, which is on fire. I just have these particular concerns, and I don't know whether or not we can defer items, if we can send items to committee, if we can, because I don't want to recommend against, but these traffic concerns are a real concern.
Well, I think one thing to keep in mind with the main traffic concern seems to be the east-west corridor through the Seymour property. The Seymour property, unfortunately, it didn't work out. It has not been relisted. But when it does,
Yeah.
it's already zoned. It's not going to sit there.
Oh yeah,
It's
no,
gonna
I get
go
that. And if the rest of the
very
board,
quickly.
if the rest of the board is not in agreement with me, by all means,
No, I just wanted
please
to-
speak up and let's get this thing rocking and rolling.
I just
It's,
wanted to say that the indefinitely thing, I don't think there's a date on that, but I think when it does relist, it already being rezoned, will go very quickly. In my opinion, that will not sit on the market long. It'll, the road will, that's, I don't think it's indefinitely. Now, I don't know the date. I do agree with that. We don't know when that will be. But it's not in too far future.
I guess, part of where I would be hoping to take advantage of some time here, meaning, discussion in a committee level or discussion with or between staff and development community, or with the developers and the traffic consultants, is there a way to condition this thing in pieces? Number one, I agree with the gentleman who spoke earlier that we really should be dividing the motions on these two things. I believe that the city action should be one action, and that the Hobson Pledge should be another action. That's just, I tend to agree with that individual.
Are we tying those together because they're technically they're the same parcels currently? It seems like it's a technical.
Can I speak to that, because it was raised, and that you're exactly right. There's a legal issue for that, and so the land exchange agreement that was approved didn't actually swap the land. It says that after the site's entitled, then Acre closes on the portion in blue, at the same time they'll do the exchange with the town, and then ownership will go as shown on the right side of the screen. And so the only way that the exchange can occur is if both of the rezonings happen, because neither the town nor Acre want to rezone the site and then affect the exchange. They don't want to affect the exchange and then have to go through the rezoning process, because they need to know that they can do what they want to do before the swap happens. So that's why they're tied together. You're right that a portion they're a portion of each tract that's being rezoned in each rezoning. Right. So that's why the applications are linked too, because Acre needed to sign both, and the town needed to sign both as owners. So,
Thank you very much.
I just want to say I appreciate staff's comment on the efficiencies of town-owned property. I recall that we actually went through a rezoning for the full existing town tract not too long ago, but seeing that they're losing about 12 acres of this, I appreciate them trying to maximize their impact and still provide services. And it is tucked away out of view, and will be separated by a 4-lane divided street there. That said, I mean, I completely share the concerns about traffic, but do see and understand that we've held to the UDO standard, and there's an expectation of having that major east-west collector road that will eventually connect to Tenjin with a roundabout, and road improvements along Perry Road and the signalized intersection will significantly alleviate. And I will agree, my friend Daniel here lives nearby, but where I live in Apex, and I could come right out of my neighborhood and take a left turn, go towards downtown, but I definitely drive the long way to go to the signal quite often at those peak hours, so I can appreciate that. As for the actual land use, I do think office is not the answer at this time in our overall development. And I look at these live work units and I think it looks how cool and futuristic, but then I have to remind myself that my grandmother grew up in an apartment above her family's hardware store 90 years ago, so it's nice that it blends from that industrial to have that opportunity to blend those two districts together. So noting the concerns, I do think this is an appropriate land use for both sides.
That sounds like a good motion.
I haven't heard from anybody on this side.
We'll say,
Yeah,
I'll go to the far left side and start talking a little bit. The public greenway, is that public greenway an at-grade crossing greenway versus a divided? Given a future bridge that might be going there, I've got a slight concern of having an at-grade greenway crossing without some sort of, I'll say, pedestrian signalization like we have on Salem Street.
right. So we haven't gotten that far with that crossing. The side path, though, I believe is supposed to go over the bridge. Jeff's coming up. So
I'm glad Jeff came because my next question was for him. So I tried to tee it up for you, Jeff.
I was trying not to say anything tonight, Jeff.
I know.
Jeff Roach, Peak Engineering and Design. We've been talking to Angela about the bridge, the greenways, how we're going to do it. And if you look at the plan, we're following the western boundary from the Perry Hills Pump Station all the way along the western boundary down to the buffer along US 1.
Okay.
When we hit that point, Angela and her staff are going to decide whether we go east or west with the construction. They're not sure if they want to try to get a bridge or a greenway, side path, sidewalk across the Perry Road future bridge, or to try to work it out on the Viridia Parkway Bridge yet.
Okay.
But there will not, most likely there will not be a pedestrian crossing over US 1 independent of either Perry Road or Viridia Parkway Bridge.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
And so based on that, the buffer you've got between the Greenway and US 1, does that take into account potential future expansion of US 1?
We have an 80-foot buffer along our frontage on the PUD section. I think the town said they had a 60-foot buffer in theirs. What we're proposing is the Greenway to stay inside of that buffer. And 80 feet, I mean, DOT can take as much as they want at some point, but the 80 feet is set up so there's no taking of apartment buildings or things like that if they ever come through. So we don't know what has DOT ever said what they are thinking for future right-of-way taking?
Well, I know what they're thinking about for me, but it's not 80 feet, so.
Okay, yeah.
But, so, is there talks about how to protect the area between the Greenway and US 1? I mean, I'm thinking a dog off the leash or something like that.
There's a woven wire fence on all NC DOT control of access highways anyway, the 4-foot high fence you see. You have it on your
Yes,
property.
that's right.
So yeah, that's the best that they do. And an 80-foot wide landscaped, you see what it looks like now.
Right.
So there's nothing there in the future when DOT comes through. I heard somebody asking about sound walls.
Yeah.
So NCDOT evaluates sound walls based upon development that's there at the time the project is discussed or approved or the right of way is taken. That's why Apex has very few sound walls, but Cary has a ton of them because Apex's growth has been recent. Cary's growth was decades ago.
Yeah.
So sound walls, protection of animals or whatever that are down in the woods there from the greenway down, the woven wire fence is there. And to let you know, the 80-foot buffer that's proposed is the same buffer width that's at Broadstone Station, the apartments that are next to Walmart. So it's consistent all the way across that right-of-way frontage.
Was that buffer owned by an HOA?
It is.
Or
It's owned by the Broadstone Apartment Complex HOA.
So this one would be owned by an HOA,
That's
and
correct.
they'd be responsible for maintaining that or reporting that DOT fence should something,
That's
a
correct.
tree falls or something like that.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Here to help.
I'll just speak up. So, I mean, I think, of course, there are going to be traffic impacts with the zoning to this PUD. However, I'd like to think that because of the infrastructure upgrades, taking those pump stations offline, hopefully we'll see the Seymour project move a little quicker to help with the facilitation of that east-west connector. So I'm supportive of it.
Mr. Chair, can I offer something here, and I suppose it's also a question to staff.
You only have 3 minutes.
I'm sorry?
You only have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
By your accord. Should have to leave
I
at
know.
6.
Yeah, I've been watching. Thank you. I'm not at all suggesting that this is a variance because I know that we can't vary from the UDO. For example, the standard that if connection exists, you've got to connect to that. So, for example, to Lexington subdivision. However, could we add a condition or tweak the conditions such that the connection go ahead and be constructed, meaning asphalt to Lexington, but that it not be opened until the east-west major collector is constructed. That way, so to Alyssa's point, when she indicated that, Preston, you're going to have a 4-lane divided highway providing a buffer, a visual buffer to the yard waste across the street, which I still believe should have significant wooded buffering before you even see the yard waste. Nonetheless, I do agree that a 4-lane divided highway, creates adequate buffer, but then B, is also adequate number of lanes, plus the introduction of the signalization that was discussed to accommodate those 3,000 vehicles. Now, I'm not a traffic engineer. Traffic engineer may say, no, you know what, that's not a good idea. To Christie's point, putting 3,600 vehicles out on Perry Road alone until east-west happens, is a failing level of service. I don't know, but I would suggest and ask whether or not the connection could be built to Lexington, just withheld from being opened until the east-west is constructed.
Can I respond to that? Similar conditions have been recommended before by neighbors, other stakeholders, and in the past, staff's comment has been that they don't want access limited, that the connection is made for a reason, and that it needs to allow circulation. I don't know if Russell wants to speak to that some more, but.
Well, that's interesting. I would like to hear from staff on that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we recommend connectivity. We don't recommend connecting and then barricading public roads.
Oh, and the precedent that was set, that would be on every subdivision from here on. It would. Yep. You can make it, but barricade it. Yep.
Right.
Well,
I would.
I understand the concern there. I think that there are ways to make that work. I understand if there's a desire to not make that work. The suggestion is that people would be barricading subdivision streets all over town, but that would be occurring illegally. My suggestion is that this would be made a condition in an ordinance, in a legal document, in a rezoning document. I agree 100%. I would call Public Works and PD immediately if someone tried to barricade one of the streets in my neighborhood, because that would be done illegally. My suggestion is that it would be done legally. So.
I don't believe we can offer up the condition, only the applicant can do that, but that's something if they want to do that, and we understand there's the concern on the table, but that would be something that the applicant would have to provide if they wanted to do that. We couldn't, as a board, say that,
We cannot impose. We can suggest, they can agree, but you're right, we cannot impose. And on that note, I do have to depart. I think probably several members in the room are going to be glad when I do. And I also understand that that I don't have a vote. It will go with the majority, and I accept that. I am in favor of this project. I just believe it's important to note these particular concerns.
well, I think we're at the point where conversation has
I just
quieted down.
wanted to say one more thing.
Yes.
Keith, you said that probably Seymour will sell quickly, right? Once it goes
It's not
up.
listed currently, but
Yeah,
I
but
don't think there's going to
once
be a
it
problem.
And what are we thinking of traffic once that opens up? Is that
But
gonna
there are traffic conditions already in the zoning for the Seymour when it went through rezoning. It was quite a bit, actually, if I'm not mistaken. My brain's, I wanted to say they would, maybe you can help me with, I think they were bringing 6 million in improvements, or I'm just stuck on 6 million.
Right. Yeah, it was. No, I think
Boom.
Mr.
Hello.
Kevin spoke to that.
That was,
And so yes, those are all still requirements of that project. They don't go away because that builder went away. They're still legal requirements of the land. So whenever it develops, they'll have to widen Tingen Road, and that project's on both sides. So it'll be widening all the way up and across the intersection, and then signalization, and then the major collector street too. So that project has about the same amount of improvements as this one does to
Okay.
try to fix
I
the
just wanted to make sure
situation.
there was some level that was going to alleviate what was coming in when that does get developed too.
Right.
However, they'll save from the pump station, taking that offline,
That-
because you guys are.
That's exactly
observing
right.
that. So
Yeah.
hopefully it will speed up. the
Yeah, so when the last developer came through the Seymour zoning process, they were assuming they would have to contribute to the taking the pump station offline and extending sewer. But now this project will be doing that, and so that land, to Mr. Braswell's point, will be very valuable, already zoned, and so a developer can come along and file site plans and subdivision plans. So,
Can you provide a little input as to why Seymour never went through?
I don't know the exact specifics because I handled the zoning and then was out of it, for the later process. But I knew that particular builder had some sort of issue during due diligence that hopefully can be worked out, by the next builder or developer. I mean, I've gotten questions about that site because it's sitting in such a prime location, and people see that it's entitled, and so I don't think there's much of a better location than the Seymour site. They've just got to work through whatever the issue was. So,
Is staff aware of the issue with why Seymour?
Just aware that the developer withdrew the application.
I'm just wondering if these items like sewer would have made a difference, Okay. So our public comment is closed at this point, and I apologize. Any other comments, questions?
Well, I will say that obviously I'm in favor. I think through my comments, I do understand our concerns, especially with Mr. Preston's concerns, and I think a lot of that will be alleviated with the sale of the Seymour property and the east-west connector going through. But with the developer is bringing on, with the infrastructure improvements, 20% AMI, 80% for 30 years. The fee in lieu to the intersection of the Peakway and Tingen another 6 million infrastructure improvements. I just think this thing is, yeah, it's not perfect as far as the transportation plan, but I believe in the near future it will be as good as it can be. And for that, I'll make a motion to approve.
We need, are you approving items 1 and 2
Items
together?
number 1
or
and
we're
2.
doing this separate?
Well, do we need to do them separately or doing one, or doing both?
With the additional conditions for staff.
We need to do them separately.
Separately.
So the transportation plan amendment would be first.
Oh, well,
So we're doing transportation first? Yes. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna change gears, go back to item number 1, which is the amendments to the Apex Transportation Plan. We have open and closed public comment, brought it back to the board, had discussion. Is there any other discussion about the amendments?
I will make a motion to approve the amendments to the Apex Transportation Plan.
We have a
This is Jeff,
motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Alyssa, second by Jeff. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those who oppose? Okay, so the motion carries for item number 1. Okay, now on item number 2, we have a motion by Mr. Braswell. And do we have a second there?
I, Sarah, can second.
Okay, Sarah is seconding. Okay. I will say before we take the vote, I think Preston did bring up some very legitimate concerns. I just really want to make sure that you guys are working with staff and address some of those concerns, especially on the traffic. I would like to see some signalization go in sooner than later. I think that's going to be key to the project. This one does have my support as well. So we'll go ahead and take the vote. All those who are in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those who oppose? Okay. And number 2 passes as well.
Can I request recusal from item number 3, please?
Yes, item number 3, recusal of Alyssa for this rezoning.
I'll make that motion.
A motion approved by Jeff, second by Sarah. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those who oppose? Okay, Alyssa, you have been recused.
Y'all bring me back, please.
We will bring you back. Okay, so up next is item number 3. Amanda is going to discuss the possible motion regarding rezoning 25CZ 15, the Viridia Expansion 4.
Okay. My staff report. Okay, so this is rezoning case 25CZ15. It's the 4th expansion of the Viridia SD plan. As you are probably aware, Viridia is located in the area between US 1, Highway 55, and NC 540. And for this expansion, there are 10 parcels scattered that equal about 130 acres, primarily along 540 in Viridia Parkway, but also just off of Viridia Parkway, and then a little tiny parcel just north of US 1. The properties are currently zoned planning and development conditional zoning, rural residential, and light industrial, and the proposal is to change the zoning to sustainable development conditional zoning for Viridia. The 2045 land use map designates the majority of the area as regional mixed use, as is the rest of the Viridia development, with the exception of this parcel here, which is office employment, industrial employment. And if the rezoning is approved as proposed, all of the parcels will become regional mixed use. The applicant held their neighborhood meetings on August 21st and October 15th, and you have those neighborhood meeting reports in your packet. A letter of impact from Wake County Public Schools was not requested, as no additional residential units are requested as part of this rezoning. And just as a reminder, there's provisions in the UDO that allow the expansion of an existing SD zoning to parcels within 2,000 feet of an existing SD CZ zoning district, and development densities are allowed to increase on a pro rata basis. If the rezoning is approved, the Veridia SD plan, environmental enhancement plan, and the pattern book will all be applicable to the subject properties. The applicant has also indicated in their application that no increase in the development density, so no additional residential, office, industrial, or retail square footage is proposed, so the entitlements would remain unchanged as far as the allowable development densities. The Apex Environmental Advisory Board heard this at their October 16th meeting and did not make any suggestions for additional rezoning conditions. Planning staff is recommending approval of this rezoning with the conditions as offered by the applicant. The 2045 land use map designates the majority of the properties as regional mixed use, and if the rezoning is approved as requested, the parcel that is designated as office employment, industrial employment will be changed per state law. The proposed rezoning is reasonable and in the public interest because it will encourage more efficient and compatible development of the properties, provide for the same development standards as applicable to the undeveloped adjacent properties, and allow for uses that will generate jobs and increase the tax base. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. The applicant is also here.
Thank you, Amanda. Any questions for Amanda? Amanda, I was looking through the staff report. I apologize, you're heading out. Page 2, where it just says, you know, the residential dwelling units. Thank you. No increase, but then there is a 0.15% increase in retail, 0.15% increase in office and industrial. Can you explain kind of what that is? It just by land volume? Is that it?
So thank you for bringing that up. There was a typo in the staff report, a holdover from a copy paste from the last Veridia expansion. So there is no, the correct version is what I presented. There is no increase in the numbers for retail and office industrial. I updated that in the town council version, but failed to mention that in my presentation to you today.
Any other questions? Okay, at this time, I'll go ahead and open up the public comment for item number 3. Right now, we have 2 people who are signed up. One looks to be the applicant. One is Lawrence Kevin. Mr. Kevin, if you'd like to come up. I'm sorry, I apologize. Morningstar would like to speak first. I apologize, Mr. Kevin.
That's fine.
Yeah. Morningstar first.
This is the walk.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board. Letitia Shapiro, Morningstar Law Group, wanted to welcome the new members to the board. I'm here this evening on behalf of the applicant, RXR Realty, and I have with me this evening Joe Graziosi from RXR, and he's here to answer any questions that you may have. Amanda did a great job of explaining what's going on here, and essentially we're just bringing in these 10 properties into the SD plan and making sure that they become accountable to the SD plan, the Veridia SD plan, and the environmental enhancement plan, as well as the pattern book. So we're here to answer any questions that you may have. And so with that, we would appreciate your recommendation of approval. And thank you for listening to us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
So just for clarification, these are just additional properties that you sort of have brought into the fold?
Correct.
That weren't there?
Yeah, I mean, we call them donut hole properties. We're just trying to gather all of them to bring them into the SD plan. Okay. Correct.
But technically, this is cleaning house here.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
No donut holes.
Yep. Requirements anyway.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Were these the last donut holes for for this area? For the Veridia campus?
So I believe that bringing additional properties could be something that happens in the future. We're just trying to work all of that out right now. But as they do become available, you will see expansions of the Veridia plan.
Just to clarify one more time, so there's no change in retail? Okay. And no change in residential? Correct, okay. In office, industrial, okay, no change, okay.
So as a general question, why would you want to purchase these locations if it has no change to the overall, just a general question?
Yes, so I'll have Joe come and
Sure.
answer that question.
Chairman, members of the board, welcome new members of the board. My name is Joe Graziosi, Executive Vice President of ARCSAR. Thank you for your time this evening and listening to this case. I like to look at this as sort of just a natural piece of the closing of sort of Veridia, right? So if you think about Veridia for a minute, I always think about it as 1 at the north, 55 at the east, and then 540 wraps it around, and we have 2 little pieces on the south side. So what you see in this map here essentially is really just taking parcels that some of which we bought when we actually closed on the land, but weren't part of the SD plan, and others that we've bought along the way. The madam asked about, well, are there going to be more? And the fact is, there would be more within the boundaries of 55, 540, and 1, excuse me, if they made sense for the project. We're at that point now where all of the little, what I call fingers along 55 that we've been in front of this board and have been incorporated already. There's 1 left, which we're about to close on. We closed on a little piece of property, little, 14 acres, little compared to the scale, with Dell, which is right here, this. So we haven't brought that forward yet. And so as we kind of merge this together and we look mostly at the infrastructure and how, how we group the infrastructure and how the pipes run, the sewer pipes, the water pipes, et cetera, bringing them all into the same fold allows us to continue the process. So long answer to probably a simple question, but I want to be clear that if I stood before this board or my attorneys or consultants a week from now or a year from now, and we were adding something that I didn't stand up tonight and say, yes, it's likely that we may add something. So if it comes along the way. I'm happy to answer any other questions if there are any.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, at this point, we'll go ahead and open up public comment. I believe, Mr. Kevin, you have signed up to speak on this.
Lawrence Kevin, 1628 Salem Village Drive. Tough act to follow. My comments was, I know it's an expansion of land, but I think the way school districts work and school assignments is based on geographic area. So again, like where I live in Salem Village, we've been redistricted or a couple times we've been reassigned different schools. So I think that needs to be looked at just as a possibility, not just, there's, we don't have any more units or residential, but there might be a distribution of where they are. I also want to just point out again, like the Highway 1 Veridia bridge that needs a bad, update. It's a natural bottleneck, and again, we're kind of distributing more, people on that side, and they're probably going to be traveling on that road. So consider that. Other thing I want to point out about just the public meeting. I mean, essentially, you look at the invite list. It was all property owners that are in Veridia. There was Grace Christian. That was listed as notification. I looked at attachment list. They weren't on the attachment list, so I don't know if they were notified or not. But obviously, a big property owner has some big considerations. I don't know why that didn't happen. I would like to see the notification zone expanding, and we're talking about multi-billion-dollar project. So the more, again, like for me, the more information I know, the better. So. And for you too. And just a little bit off topic, that it is really, and I don't want to make this public and talk to you, but I do have information why the Seymour did not go through. And my information tells me the staff did know, as confirmed by a council member, and it's why it didn't go through. So I'm not going to say it publicly. Please talk to me afterwards, and I'll disclose it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other public comments for this item? Okay, seeing that there are none, we'll go ahead and close the public comment and bring this back to the board for discussion.
So this project seems like a straightforward rezoning item.
Yeah.
So,
Big part of Viridian,
Yeah.
it must be part of sustainable development zoning, and it's, seemed to be more of a house cleaning.
Yep.
They're coming up to standard.
Yeah.
Yep.
You need to make a motion?
Well,
No.
I'll speak up real quick. I like the fact that they're not trying to change, like we've seen before, they're not trying to change the rules in mid-game. All they're trying to do is bring in the additional properties they've acquired or had acquired into the fold of what they're already doing, not saying, oh, by the way, we want to do this or this with these properties and amend what we've already, talked about over the years. It's just an addition of the properties to make it all whole. And if so, I'll make a motion to approve. Hearing silence from the right-hand side this time.
They can't get any further right than where you're sitting.
Motion to approve Viridia annexation.
Okay, so I have a motion by Jeff. We have
Second.
a second by,
Oh.
I think Sarah second.
Okay,
Prior.
Sarah second.
You could second.
No, Sarah's got it.
Order.
Ladies first.
Okay, Sarah has a second.
We'll grab a donut after.
Is there any other discussion about the project? Before we take a vote, Mr. Kavanaugh, I do appreciate your time. Somebody from the public come out here and speaking, we don't get to see that a lot. We do appreciate that. We do invite more of it. As far as the concerns of notification, these larger landmass areas, the rules are the rules. They have to, they're going to abide by what rules that they have. So it's unfortunate, but at the same time, I don't think that's going to necessarily affect kind of in this particular rezoning case. It's not going to make much of a big deal, especially being that they already own some of the property as it is. They're just trying to piece it back together. So, but I do appreciate the comment and the concern there. So we'll go ahead and take the vote. All those who are in favor of the rezoning of the 25 CZ 15 Viridia Expansion 4, say aye.
Aye.
All those who oppose? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, so we would like to, at this point, to bring Alyssa back to the fold.
Make a motion to bring Lisa back to the board.
I will second that.
Okay, so a
Mary.
motion by Keith, and a second by
Mary.
Mary. All those who approve? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, welcome back. Okay, so that leads us now to the new business section of today. Up next.
Can I make a quick comment too, Mr. Kevin? I really appreciate you bringing up Wake County Public School System and the redrafting, because that's happened multiple times for our school too, for our community, and it's due to the rapid growth of this area. And I just want to say I really appreciate you noting that. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, so we're on the new business, item number 1, which is Ashley Gentry, approval of the 2026 Planning Board meeting calendar.
Hello, good evening, Chair and members of the board. Ashley Gentry, Deputy Town Clerk. Today, I'm going to present the meeting schedule calendar this is for calendar year 2026. So starting from January to December of 2026, we're going to formally adopt the dates for your advisory board meetings. You should have received a meeting schedule prior to this meeting, so that is your draft meeting schedule. So your meetings normally will consist of every second Monday of the month, of every month. And that is consistent for the whole year. I do want to make note that January has 2 meetings for 2026. So you have January 12th, you have your regular planning board meeting, and then Thursday, January 22nd, you have a joint work session with the town council. So that's probably going to be upstairs in Town Hall, 3rd floor. So again, 2 meetings in January, 1 regular meeting with the board and 1 meeting with the town council on January 22nd. Okay? Everything else is consistent with your normal work meetings for the whole scheduled year. So again, second Monday of the month. I want to just let you know our meetings are in person, no live stream meetings, and all are open to the public. They are live streamed, like I said, so anyone can go on our Apex YouTube and watch our links. Agendas are also available on the website Wednesday prior to your meeting. So that is another way to look at your agenda packet. So if your board liaison has not sent it to you, or if you have missed your email, just double check that website and make sure the agenda is on there as well. If everyone is in agreement with this calendar, I will, is there any discussion first with this?
Is there only one work session date scheduled, the January 22nd?
Yes, to my knowledge, there's only one so far.
Okay. What if there's an issue?
So if there's another one, we would amend the schedule and just include it in your meeting, in your schedule calendar. Is that what you?
Mandatory meeting.
So Sarah, I just wanted to let you know that, or the board know, that the work session in January with the town council is to discuss data centers.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and so that's the only work session we have scheduled, joint work session we have scheduled currently with the town council, is that January 22nd date.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any dial-in option for that meeting?
I believe work sessions are
in person only?
They're in-person meetings, but I'm not sure if those are live streamed or not.
They are live streamed, so you can attend live stream, but you cannot vote or any vote live stream. You can discuss, if I'm not mistaken, but if you are in a virtual link, you cannot take a vote on an action.
You won't be able to discuss anything.
Oh, you can't discuss either?
No, it's not a virtual meeting. It's just a live stream, and we need a quorum, otherwise it will not be a meeting. So we do need you all to attend.
Okay.
Is it anticipated that there could be work sessions developed during that meeting on this topic? In other words, is it anticipated that we're going to have a meeting and then we're done? Or is it anticipated that perhaps we will have subcommittees that might do a little investigation and report back?
We don't know the answer to that at this time.
Okay.
I think more will be known after that work session.
Okay.
Yeah, it's too far, too early. Yeah. Who knows? Thank you, though, for your questions. Any other questions before we take a vote? Good. Okay. So I want any motion on the calendar?
Motion to approve the 2026 calendar.
Second.
Mary.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you very much. And I can send a final draft. We'll send the final draft to you guys after today.
A quick technical question for staff, but for the work session, will we be getting an agenda a few days in advance for that? Okay.
We
do.
assume so, but
Got it.
we've never had one. I've been here 26 years and this will be the first one, so
For planning board.
For
Yeah.
planning board, so I don't, typically, yes, there's an agenda for council, so I would think so, but I don't know exactly what date it would come out.
Okay. Well, we're also excited to experience this for the first time with you as well.
So the agenda will go out, just so you're aware, for the work session, the 22nd, January. So it should go out Friday the 16th. Friday the 16th, we should have that online.
Thanks, Ashley.
All right, thank you. So now we'll move on to item number 2. Bruce, but it doesn't look like Bruce.
So we have received some feedback on the proposed UDO amendment that has caused staff to need more time to address and work on some edits, more than could be just presented during the meeting. And so we're requesting that this would be continued to your December 8th meeting, and it's currently advertised to be heard by council this Thursday. We will be requesting it to be continued to their December 9th meeting.
Okay, now is that going to require a vote to continue, or is that just something that's withdrawn from?
It's a new business item, so I don't think it's necessary. It's not a public hearing, so I don't think it's necessary for you to vote to continue it.
So you're asking us to shorten the meeting, is that right?
Yes. I'm just saying the meeting is shortened because we don't have it ready to present to you.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Okay, so that leads us to the very end of our meeting today. Need another motion.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Sarah.
I'll second.
Have a second by Jeff. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right.
Welcome to the new planning board members.